And we're back.
And we are back. What's this, episode 5? Yeah.
Oh, shit. It is episode 5, isn't it?
5.
Damn, I was about to say episode 4. Man, not even the first episode of November. Second episode of November, but the first time we get to break the chains of the horror genre. I'm very excited about that. Because, as you know, anytime I've ever gotten to review movies in this format, it's always fucking horror.
Always. You can't get away from that.
I can't. And as fun as that is, I am excited to finally just like get into some new stuff. So excited that I was like, fuck Phil, I'm gonna watch everything too. And I was like, I just went, I watched like a movie a day pretty much. And but you're like, you petered out.
Yeah.
You went so hard on it, but that happens.
I did. I needed a little bit of like a week off just to kind of reset a little bit, kind of just get the movies out of my system. I think it was, especially like that last week where I watched close to 20 movies. I watched all 12 of like the Friday the 13th plus all the other movies that we watched. So it was a lot. It was a lot for 1 week. So I definitely... I watched a little bit. I did still watch a little bit, but
I don't know if it was just like after all the death in October that you consumed, you're like, I need to mourn, and you went into your death thing, or you were like, hey, the holidays are right around the corner. Let's just get people depressed now and talk about death movies.
To be honest, I don't think there is really anything too specific that like made it, because it wasn't like the Halloween movies at all, but
it was mostly a joke.
But I did dive into it a little bit, and not as much as I would like to, because it is hard to, like, a lot of the movies that I wanted to go back and watch were not available on any streaming service whatsoever. So I didn't feel like renting a movie for $4 that I've already seen.
The downside of streaming, I suppose.
They have everything except what you want to watch.
I will say before we get into our movies this week, on the topic of death in our last month, Tony Todd passed away. Yes, he did. Of all the times to decide, hey, I'm going to watch all the Candyman movies, and who knew that I was actually doing a celebration of life myself. Because we were just talking about Tony Todd, and I saw that he passed, I believe, yesterday. And I was a little bummed to see that. Especially the first time I saw it, the article said Tony Todd, who played Marvel's Venom, has died. And I'm like, that's what we're going with? He played Venom one time in a Spider-Man game that came out a year or two ago, and that's what we're going to put his legacy on. Great Venom, sure, but you don't want to talk about the Candyman, Final Destination.
That's his legacy, was Marvel's
Venom. He did so good that fuck his whole his decades body of work, killed it, crushed it. And
ended on a high note, apparently.
But R.I.P. Tony Todd. It's a loss to the horror community, I feel like. He's up there with, Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger, and the likes. So, R.I.P.
May he rest in peace. Sweets to the sweet.
Sweets to the sweet, my guy. So appropriate, like I said, we talked last week that I watched Coco, and I did finish it, and I cried like a bitch, like I always do. And then for the rest of the week after that, I'd go around the house doing Coco's voice at the end, where she recognizes her dad in the picture. She's like, Papa! And because my son will just say Papa all the time when he's referring to our dads. And every time he did it, here I come, Papa! Papa! But I actually, you did your death theme, And I had an accidental theme with like the first few movies I watched this year.
Oh.
I did not intend on doing it. It was just a total accident, but I watched like 3 movies in a row that were either nominated or won Best Original Song at the Oscars.
Nice.
Because I watched the South Park movie again, and I watched Coco, and then I watched Once, and they all two of the 3 of them are winners, and one is a notorious loser. So, South Park being the notorious loser, yes. But let's get into your death.
Let's get into my death movies. Let's just get me out of the way. So I watched Tuesday first, and I was a little apprehensive at first because it said, "Oh, I think that's going to be a sad movie," and so I was like, "Well, I don't know if I want to be sad." So I put it off until the next day, and I was like, "Okay, I can be sad today." So I put it on. Was not sad actually. No. It was maybe one of my favorite movies that I've watched this year.
Yeah,
top 10. I feel like
I haven't seen it yet, but I did watch a trailer like a couple weeks ago when they first put it on Max. And Belle watched the trailer with me, and she's like, "What the fuck? Like, this is weird." Like she was lost at the talking bird, but I was like so intrigued.
Oh yeah, because I mean it was definitely interesting because like the bird is death, which I thought was a very interesting take on it.
Yeah,
but then it starts off and you just see him going around just being death, like waving his wing over people, and then they just die.
Oh.
And so that's how we started it off. And so I was like, oh, interesting. And so then like the main character is like this chick who has some sort of illness. And I don't think they ever specifically said what it was, but
yeah.
You could tell that she's not doing too.
You said the main chick, was that the daughter or like the? Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so the death shows up, and so she tells him a joke, and he loved it. He started laughing, and I was like, huh, interesting. And so then he was talking about oh, you're one of the first people that I've been able to talk to in so long. So they just spend the day chilling together, and then the mom comes back because she's out doing shit, and then then it's kind of the mother not wanting to accept her daughter's death and stuff like that. So it actually took a pretty. I enjoyed it the take that it went. Huh. So I was like.
Well, now
definitely. I don't want to get too much.
Right. Yeah. Now I'm even more excited to see it.
But I would. I'd check it out. Possibly today, if you feel like it.
I just might. Maybe I'll watch it tonight.
And I thought I could tell it was a British movie because just some of the humor.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like, yes, I can see that. but overall, it was. I really enjoyed it. And so then that got me initially started on the death kick was that.
Yeah.
And so then I wanted to watch Click because then whatever the hell his name is.
Dude,
Christopher Walken is death in that movie. So I wanted to just watch. Originally I was trying to watch movies where death was a character.
Yeah.
And so, but that didn't go the way I planned, which is why I accidentally watched Winter's Tale.
Yeah.
Because I thought, when you told me about it, I thought Will Smith played Death and not Satan, so I got the two confused. But then it still kind of fit my theme anyways, because that movie was interesting, I suppose.
I suppose.
I would say your review of it definitely lowered any sort of expectations I would have ever had for it, which would have been pretty low to begin with. So I was like, yeah, it's okay. It was kind of weird.
I could see how one could get fooled into having high expectations. The stellar cast. I mean,
oh yeah.
For fuck's sake, Colin Farrell, Russell Crowe, Will Smith. Great cast.
Yeah. Yeah. The I will say the narration reminded me of South Park when Kenny is playing Princess Kenny from like the Game of Thrones, and so like they're doing the intro, and it's like, and I am a princess, and like that's how like they were talking, like how like her voice was when they were doing it, like almost identical. I was like, that's hilarious. But yeah, so I don't know, because I mean the whole thing was kind of weird. I mean, I get that like magic was a big component and stuff like that. And Russell Crowe, I feel like I never saw Les Mis, but I feel like it's almost like the same role where he's just like chasing after someone for no goddamn reason, like the whole movie. Because like I don't know what Colin Farrell did to him besides just like leave him that made him like so gung ho to like, I'm going to kill this man, like he is mine, like tried to leave his section to get him, became immortal to fight him, like he was obsessed with destroying Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
To the point where the prophecy, he pretty much made the prophecy come true by instigating the whole situation to begin with. If he just would have let them live their lives, then he probably just would never happen. Because like he killed the redhead or whatever, and then for whatever reason that made Colin Farrell just not die, and so he lived for like, he was just wandering around for like 100 years looking the exact same, and so that was like a whole. That I was like, so that's kind of where I was like, okay, I guess this is just life after death now. So now it's just a death theme to fit it in that aspect.
I gotcha. I think the phrase "for whatever reason" applies to a lot of that movie. I mean, it's been that movie came out 10 years ago, and I saw it on Valentine's Day. And I remember it was like between that and this other movie with the girl I went on a date with. She's like, I want to see Winter's Tale. And I mean, we're not, even though we've got 4 episodes that say otherwise, we're usually not the biggest critics. Like we can nitpick and we can critique things, but usually, we enjoy movies. Yeah. Especially like at that point in time of my life, like I fucking watch anything and everything. And that was like one of the only times I left a movie theater that I was just like, fuck this whole movie. I was like, this was so stupid. And now, just because there's been 10 years past, there's a part of me that wants to rewatch it just to see if I feel any differently about it.
I will say this one thing that really didn't make sense to me is like in the beginning. So like his family's trying to come over to America or whatever. Right. For some reason, something is going on to where they can't. So they're like, well, if we can't go, the baby's going. Like this baby is getting to America. So like they're on a ship. They put him on like a little boat. Yeah. And they just sent him out. I was like, y'all are still in the ocean, like
that's a lot.
You better hope not a single wave comes, nothing to tip that over to the side, because it wasn't like a sturdy situation. Like this, like even as a parent, like you're like, well, if the kid dies, at least he doesn't have to die here. So it's like, good Lord, how bad was it for you guys? Back in like the 1900s or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like other than just like my initial feeling that never went away, I can't speak much on this movie just because I just remember really not liking it.
Yeah, well, there wasn't much to like. So
Winter's fucking Tale.
And then what did I think
you watched one other movie, but we'll
get into that. Yeah, because I was gonna watch Click.
Yeah.
Couldn't find it. I was going to watch What Dreams May Come.
Right.
Couldn't find it. And so then that kind of just dampened my spirits a little bit. It's like having a hard time keeping this theme going right now.
I will say on the theme of death, well, actually, there's a thing that you need to catch up on where death is a character in it. But it made me think I think it was just yesterday maybe, I was thinking about this, that death is always portrayed as like this terrifying character, right? Like it's portrayed as a villain most of the time. But when you think about it, death isn't necessarily a villain. It just kind of is, Yeah. And I kind of liked that concept. Like I started thinking about that. I was like, I'd love to maybe like do a story about death where death as a character is just what it is. I mean, it's not a vicious, like, you know, it's not, oh, I'm coming for your soul, like I'm a bad guy. Like, it just is what it is. It's just there waiting for you, you know, to take you to the other side. So this recent incarnation of death that I saw, I thought did a good job of like portraying death in that way, where it's like death is as much about like rebirth and like, you know, a lot of like life grows out of the decay, you know,
right.
Death and stuff. And I loved what they did with that. But yeah, just made me think. I'm like, death is always portrayed as such like a villainous character, but really, he's not a villain.
Yeah,
he comes for us all, or she,
whatever it is. But yeah, plenty of great death movies, though. You still have, you know. I mean, there are. I just couldn't think of them off the top of my head. Didn't want to try to look for them. It's okay. It'll be a light week. Hey, it happens. It does happen. Let's see here. I will say briefly, like I said, I watched the South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut again at the beginning of the month. You and I caught it at the theater back in June for its 25th anniversary sing-along, and I wish we could do it again. It is hands down still one of my favorite movie theater experiences of the year, was going to see that with you. Oh yeah, it was a blast. I love that there wasn't. I would have loved if it would have been a full theater. That would have made me happy. But even just like the few of us that were there, we had people. No one really sang along, but there was like a couple that was quoting the whole show, like from start to finish, and that just made me learn, because I didn't really watch it prior to that. Like I've seen it like one time before, but it was almost like my first time actually going to sit through and watch it, which you would think, with me being as big of a South Park fan as I am, that I would have seen it a lot more. Well, the same basically applied to me. I'd only ever seen it one time when I was a kid. They played it like uncensored on TV one night, like late night. I remember being at my great grandma's house in the basement. Everybody was in bed, and the South Park movie came on Comedy Central, and I was watching it like, ooh, I should not be watching this. But I loved it. But a lot of it, you know, flew right over my head. I didn't really know, a lot of stuff. So when we saw it in theaters, it was like seeing it for the very first time, and it looked fantastic in a movie theater. Like if I had the option to just always watch that in a movie theater, I would, because after that, who knew that movie theater experience would lead me to finding out that the South Park movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's like if I was to be shipped off to a desert island today, I might have to be like, just give me the South Park movie. If that's the only one I can take with me, just give me that. Because over the course of the week after we watched it, it was on Pluto TV a lot. Still is. But they're going hard for their 25th anniversary, I guess. But I watched that motherfucker, whether in full or bits and pieces, I don't know, probably like 6 times that week. You watch it almost every fucking day. Just about. I mean, and I told you, you know, like, this has happened twice now where it'll play back to back on TV. And so like, I literally, like, I remember watching it on demand on Pluto, like after we had just fucking seen the movie. And I watched it. And I just finished it, and the credits started to roll, and I shut it off, and it just started on, like, Pluto TV. And so I started watching it again, and my girlfriend comes in, and she's asked me to do all this shit. And I'm getting mad, as if I didn't just sit here and watch it. Like, literally just got done watching the movie that I've seen 3 other times that week. So I'm just like, be quiet. I'm watching the South Park movie. God damn it. But yeah, I've seen it so many. It's hands down my most watched movie of the year now. And even when I watched it the other day, I almost watched it 2 times in a row. And South Park is a very easy show to just sit down and watch.
Yes, but I feel it's so much more with the movie for some reason. Like the movie, I just feel like there's
shorter.
Maybe, I guess. In the time that you watch the movie, you could probably get in like 3, maybe 4 episodes, but whatever.
Yeah, still.
But still, I mean, it's fucking great. It's just such a good movie. And even today, like I remember seeing it in the theater with you, and like there were certain jokes that like I'd be laughing my ass off at, and I'm just like looking around like, oh God, are we gonna get canceled for laughing at this movie? But
are you allowed to laugh at this?
God, it's just such a hysterical movie. And it's so well written. The songs are fantastic, catchy as hell. And it's like, how can I not like, the movie ends and then they're hitting it with that rock rendition of What Would Brian Boitano Do? And then as soon as it starts playing again and Stan's singing the song about his quiet mountain town, I'm like, all right, tell me more. Tell me more.
You got me.
All right. Let's do it. Yeah, what a great movie. Definitely one of my favorites of all time at this point.
I'm going to have to go through and rewatch it again.
And again and again and again. Oh, yeah. Again and again. Started down my Terminator journey, but we'll get back to that later this month.
Yeah, after I borrow your films.
Right. Well, you know me. I take forever to get these shit. And you'll blaze through them in a night. So
yeah.
I probably should have just brought them to you now so you could get them out of the way, and then I could just watch them
at your own
at my own leisure.
Yeah, you could have, but
let's see here. Watched. I love me some SpongeBob movies, bro.
Yeah, I've watched a couple, but I've definitely not watched all of them.
Well, there's 4 of them now. This latest one is the 4th installment, I believe.
Maybe I've seen all of them except
the newest one.
It's hard to tell.
This one, I know we kind of talked about it. It was weird that it's a Netflix exclusive.
Yeah, when you told me that, I was like,
why? I was like, what does Paramount have against Sandy Cheeks that her movie couldn't be on Paramount Plus?
They have pretty much SpongeBob is the spokesperson of Paramount. That's what they're always fucking advertising. So,
but yeah, I remember seeing that first movie in theaters when I was a kid, and that was a blast. The first movie was always a lot of fun, a lot of laughs.
Oh yeah,
and I always love all the celebrities that they get in the SpongeBob movies. A lot of movies will do the celebrity cameo thing, but I just feel like SpongeBob always does it best. I just always enjoy it, because then the second one, I remember, again, went to the theaters with our friend Brittany to go see that one. And I remember we had we made a whole day out of it. Went and got high as fuck. Went to Charlie's, had a nice meal, got high as fuck. Went to the movie theater in the middle of the day, and here we are, 2 grown-ass people, high as a fucking kite. And there's a mom and her 2 kids a few rows behind us, and we are just fucking dying laughing at this movie. Because I swear to God, the second movie and everything past that first movie, my theory is that the creators of SpongeBob are like everybody that watched SpongeBob as a kid grew up and became stoners, or is just doing some sort of drug. So let's just start making these movies for them, but keep it just innocent enough for the kids. Man, they just get weird, bro. I mean, because the second one had that time-traveling dolphin or whatever the fuck. And the third one is Sponge on the Run, I think is what it's called, where Gary is lost and they got to go find Gary. And I was watching this one, and I remember my cousin or somebody came over, and her and Belle walked in the room, and they're like, the fuck are you watching? And I'm like, it's SpongeBob. But I'm pretty sure Keanu Reeves was in that one.
Yeah, because I saw it, because in that, I did see that one as well.
Yeah. Fuck him.
Keanu Reeves was in
that. He was
the
tumbleweed. Or he was the sage. Because he was insane. Yeah. But yeah, this latest one was Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie. Sandy Cheeks finally getting her time to shine.
I want to go home.
I want to go home.
Oh, Texas.
Fucking, obviously Texas plays a big part in this movie. I enjoyed it. There's not been a SpongeBob movie yet that I have not enjoyed. And yeah, they're out there. They're weird. And there was a part of me that, like, watching this movie, I just really enjoyed it just from, like, almost a nostalgic perspective of, like, how kids' movies are made sometimes. Like, because I saw that it had, like, a 3.7 on fucking IMDb. And I'm just like, well, I know the kids aren't going on IMDb and rating this because, like, for a kids' movie, like, I would have been hyped to watch this as a kid. You know, there's just some silly shit. Yeah, like the CGI is goofy and the you know, how it looks with the animated characters being in the real world and shit like that. Like, yeah, it's goofy. Like, it's not like seamless. Like,
right.
But I really wouldn't want it to be. It very much had like a Spy Kids feel to it. You know what I mean? And Wanda Sykes plays the villain in this one. She plays Tsunami. Oh, yeah. And so yeah, Bikini Bottom gets taken away, and they gotta save it. Sandy and SpongeBob got to go save it.
Oh, shit.
And it's at a lab in Texas, so they got to go back home, and you meet Sandy Cheek's family.
Do they do some karate?
Of course they do some karate. Her family, I was like, I recognize these voices. Who are these people? Craig Robinson played her dad. Dude from This Is the End. Okay. Yeah. You just have this blank look on your face.
No, you're fine.
You're like, oh, Craig Robinson. Johnny Knoxville was like her uncle and stuff. And it was just fun, dude. As SpongeBob movie should be. Always a good time.
Who was her mom?
I don't know, some bitch. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. I forget her name, but she's a very like popular voice actress. She does like a lot of cartoons and stuff.
Got you. Okay. So no one I would recognize if you were to say her name.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's one of those. You could name a list like a mile long of like the characters this woman has voiced, but I don't think she's like a household name.
Yeah.
If you're not like a big animation or voiceover person.
But
yeah, man, just a nice time. As always,
a nice time.
I always love me some good SpongeBob movies. Still don't go back and watch like any of the new shows though. I'm just like,
yeah,
I don't need it. I'm here for the movies.
I feel like the movies, kind of like you said, they are made for like the adults of the original people who loved SpongeBob. But I just feel like trying to go back and watch like SpongeBob now and having the nostalgia of like what SpongeBob used to be. I just feel like it would just be a little too different.
Well, oh man, there's a line in this movie where SpongeBob says something about how he's like Bikini Bottom gets taken away, and he's like, how am I supposed to stream my movies on demand or something of that nature? And it was a little jarring. I'm like, I just kind of forget that, like, I mean, yeah, time has passed in the real world, but like,
it shouldn't in Bikini Bottom.
It's just weird, I guess, but I guess it shouldn't be. I mean, I don't know. I guess like it's just keeping up with the times. It's not like SpongeBob never put like a VHS or something in before, like when we were kids, or so
they never really watched TV. They had the news come on,
right?
With like the fish was but whatever.
I was gonna do the fish voice, but I couldn't think of like what he says.
Oh, neither can I.
So
it's been too long.
But yeah, fucking SpongeBob, dude.
Fucking SpongeBob. I'm gonna have to watch this last one since I've apparently watched all three of the other ones.
I couldn't miss out. That was like one of the few things on Netflix this year that I'm like, oh hell yeah! Like I don't watch Netflix much, but they got me with SpongeBob. Apparently,
I was able to get my buddy's Netflix the other day. It kicked me off, but then on a whim, I got on there to watch. I watched something that was on there. I can't remember what it was now. But then let me log in. So I was like, weird, whatever.
You'd be slipping through the cracks.
Ooh, nice.
Slipping through the cracks over at Netflix. Fuck the password sharing crackdown.
Yeah, that's stupid.
And then Belle requested we watch one of her favorites that I'd never seen before, Sleepover. Have you ever seen Sleepover?
I have not.
With old Alexa Vega in it. And honestly, the names don't even stop there. That was my biggest surprise watching this movie. Like, I always was familiar with this movie. Like, I remember seeing, like, the cover for it. It was, like, pink with the girls, like, posing and dancing on it. And that was the other thing. It's like the only other movie I know Alexa Vega is in other than Spy Kids. So
yeah.
And then the cast was ginormous. Like tons of people who were like up and comers. Like Sarah Paxton was in it. Evan Peters was in it. Steve Carell was in it before he got real big. He played like this security officer guy. Hilarious. He was hilarious.
Nice.
It was a pretty good movie. I mean, definitely like a teeny bopper movie from 2004 for sure.
Right.
But it was fine. I gotta say though, across the board, just somehow, I don't know if it's just living in the day and age that we live in or what, but sometimes going back and watching movies we were so comfortable with growing up, there are just things that I'm just like, ugh.
Just why? Why?
There's like there's like this whole scene in Sleepover that I was just cringing so hard at. And Belle was trying to justify it, which like I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to tear your movie apart here. Like, I know that this is like, you got a lot of nostalgia. You grew up watching this movie. Like, this is like a big thing. So just ignore me because I'm going to make comments. I'm going to nitpick. But there's a scene where like, so the whole movie, they're like doing this scavenger hunt.
Okay.
And the whole point of the scavenger hunt, she's having a sleepover at her house.
Gotcha, makes sense.
Yes. And her parents are, Jane Lynch, and then the big guy from Daddy Daycare. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
So they were the parents, and so she has this sleepover, and they're not supposed to leave the house. Well, of course they leave the house, and then they do this scavenger hunt.
They have the one rule.
And the whole point of the scavenger hunt is to secure a seat, like, for when they go to high school. Like there's like a lunch area and there's like this fountain, and if whoever wins the scavenger hunt like gets the good prime spot at the fountain, and obviously the losers have to sit by the dumpster for the rest of the year. So that's those are the stakes of this movie.
I would have left house too.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I wouldn't have minded as much. I can't smell, but even just the aesthetic of sitting next to a dumpster doesn't seem pleasing.
No, especially not to eat my lunch.
No, I'd rather go into the bathroom. Which I've always thought that was a weird place for people, like in movies. They go into like the stall to eat.
Yeah.
It's like, go sit on some steps or something. Like,
why? Go to an empty classroom.
Right,
go to the playground.
Why subject you? Like, someone's taking a shit right next to you while you're eating your lunch.
Was like this a thing? Is this a thing back in the day? I don't know.
Never got that, but...
No. I never have personally taken my lunch in the bathroom.
I've never had that.
What's that fucking movie where the dude talks about like he likes to sit backwards on the toilet and use it as like he eats his cereal while he's sitting on the toilet?
I know they made that joke in South Park, but I don't know if...
I feel like there's something else where they made that joke, but maybe it is South Park I'm thinking about. I don't know. Fun fact for you too, South Park will come up again in this conversation before this episode.
I can't wait. I was literally watching South Park before you showed up.
That doesn't even surprise me.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. I'm pretty sure it's just on your TV.
If I'm here, it's usually at least playing in the background.
So they go on the scavenger hunt, and there's a scene where like one of the things they have to get, I don't know if it was like they had to get a drink from a bar or like they got to take pictures with the Polaroid to like, show that they got the stuff. So they get into this bar. They're all 14.
Gotcha. Yeah.
BT dubs. And they go in and they look fucking 14 too.
Yeah.
And so they get in there, and while they're there, there's a teacher like that you saw at the beginning of the movie. The teacher's there. And the teacher apparently is supposed to be like on this date with somebody, like a little blind date situation.
Oh.
And whatever descriptor he got for like, she was wearing something. Well, Alexa Vega's character is like wearing this. Now, mind you, he had a face-to-face conversation with Alexa Vega at the beginning of this fucking movie. He goes up to her and he's like, "Oh, so-and-so, is that you?" And she's like trying to avoid him, but he's like, "Oh, yeah, you said you were wearing the thing." And she's like, "Yeah." So then they start like talking, and he's like being flirtatious. The bitch has sunglasses on. That's it. Like some Cyclops-looking ass sunglasses. And it's just like, I couldn't abide. I could not. I was just like, I couldn't hold my tongue on that one. I was like, suspension of disbelief is one thing, but I'm like, you're telling me this bitch is on some Superman shit right now? This guy doesn't know because what? He can't see the tops of her cheekbones and her pupils? Like, I don't understand. Like, and he just like continues to like flirt with her. Nothing like too crazy, but I'm just watching this scene just like major ick. Just like, I'm like, this is so fucking weird. And it's just like,
what a choice.
Because then he finally is like, wait a minute, so-and-so, is that you? And she's like, yeah, and you can tell he's not thrilled about that. He's just like, oh.
Go get a double shot.
But like, so like, you know, I said something about this, and Belle's like trying to justify that, like, well, he wasn't like groping her or anything. He wasn't being inappropriate, which like, no, I get. And like, my thing was, it's not even the character. Like, it's not the character I'm upset with right now. Right. It's the writers. I'm more upset with the writer of this film who was like, and what if we had this grown man just like hit on this 14-year-old girl who is obviously a fucking 14-year-old girl who is his student, and it's all obvious, and it's just like, it just felt weird. That whole scene just felt so weird. It made my skin crawl. And I mean, the guy was a good guy. Like, he didn't do anything. And then like, he was like, y'all gotta get out of here, basically. And he was nice about it. And they had like a nice little moment afterwards, but still just fucking bizarre.
That is a strange choice to make.
Yeah. And then by the end of the movie, there's just certain things that I'm just like, this is silly. This is silly. Just a lot of silliness.
Y'all just doing shit.
But again, it's one of those things that like, nothing irritates me quite like adults like tearing apart kids' movies. You know what I mean? Like, it's so silly. Like, you know, we can sit here and have our fun and like talk about like what was annoying about things and stuff like that. But like the people who are genuinely just like, this movie was the worst fucking thing I've ever seen. What a piece of shit. And just like run it into the ground. Right. But it's like, you're also like a 40-year-old man, and this movie was made for children.
Yeah. So, that's like someone just like grilling my brave little toaster.
Yeah, right.
It's a goddamn kids movie about appliance coming to life trying to get back home. Like, it's not.
We can't all operate on Pixar levels of storytelling. Like sometimes, like, I mean, for fuck's sake, like that SpongeBob movie, the Sandy Cheeks movie. Do I think it's like one of the greatest pieces of cinema of the year? No. Like, if you're grading it on a critical scale, yeah, maybe you do give it 4 out of 10 stars. But like, from an enjoyment perspective, like putting myself in the shoes of like little me sitting down to watch SpongeBob, I enjoyed it. I had a good time. Like, I know like this is something that kids would enjoy watching, and that's all that matters. I feel like with a kids movie, if a kid is going to enjoy it, that's all that fucking matters. Like, if you don't like it, don't fucking watch it. It's a kids movie.
Fucking watch it.
But yeah, that's always bizarre to me. So yeah, then after a little period of some wholesome entertainment, I took a hard turn and watched some movies that we watched back in the day. Watched Crank and Crank High Voltage.
You did.
Back to back. Which is a great way to watch it.
I think it's probably the best way to watch it.
It really does play like just one big movie.
Yeah. Because like the second one pretty much starts right off where the first one
like literally
ended. Yeah. So
like it literally, like, you could probably cut out the credits, and like I am almost positive if you get online, you could probably find somebody has done like a super cut of the two movies. Wouldn't be hard. It's not much editing involved. You just cutting out the credits of the last movie and like a bit of the opening of the first movie, because they do like the recap, but it's like the 16-bit like video game when he's like fighting him in the helicopter and then falls to the ground. But yeah, I remember watching those with you. Fuck, it probably would have been like junior high, because the second one came out in 2009. So we would have either just been finishing up 8th grade or going into freshman year.
Yeah.
And that was the last time I watched these movies. You said you've seen them since then.
I've seen them again as an adult.
Yeah.
But even that would have been like 2015, 2016, something around there.
Yeah, so that's still like 10 years.
Yeah. Still been a while.
But yeah, it was. I mean, they're still fun. They're a blast for sure. I get where it's not everybody's cup of tea because it's just mayhem.
Yeah,
it's just fucking
it's
chaos.
Just chaos the whole fucking time, and just like goofy.
I was gonna say, you want to talk about silly? These Crank movies, but like something like Crank, I'm so much more willing to suspend my disbelief.
Yeah,
you know, I'm just like, well, yeah.
They set it to be an outrageous movie, and then they just fully leaned into
and
how outrageous it can be.
You know, I always say that I love a movie that like establishes its rules and just tells you what it is within the first few moments and is like, this is what the fuck it is. If you don't like it, then get out. And Crank is definitely one of those movies where it's like, okay, this is what you're getting yourself into. So if you don't like this now, you're not gonna like it at any point. You know, moving forward, it's only gonna get more batshit.
Because like the first one, like he had to keep his heart rate up or whatever. Right?
Yeah,
they gave him a drug and it was slowing his heart down, so he had to keep it.
You had to keep the adrenaline pumping.
Yeah.
But then the whole thing was like he almost became like a legend of sorts because he's like, this shit should have killed him. And like I love the relationship he has with the doctor. He's always calling throughout the movie, where this doctor is just like, you should be dead. He's like, God damn. He's like impressed, you know? So when he calls him in the second movie, he's just like, how the fuck are you still alive? Like, he's like, you're a machine, man. Like, yeah, because the first one they give him the Beijing cocktail and slow his heart rate down. He's got to keep the adrenaline pumping. And then the second one, they take that heart that everybody is now like, well, obviously this heart's pumping. It's strong. It's
a healthy heart rate.
Yeah. So they take his heart and replace it with like a temporary one that's only meant to like sustain people like during surgeries, like to like be until they can get a new donor. But of course everybody's trying to fucking kill him, and he's just gotta like keep himself charged up is the whole second movie. So yeah, whether he's like electrocuting himself or the static electricity. There's part of me that can't believe they did the public sex scene twice. They did it in the first movie and the second movie.
The second one was hilarious.
It was.
That's the one where they're like at the
racetrack.
Yeah. And he's just fucking all those different positions in front of everyone. They're all just cheering him on. They love it.
I read a trivia fact that I think is...
Well, Amy Smart was his girlfriend.
I'll tell you one thing. Amy wasn't very smart in this fucking movie, which I totally forgot about. Like, I guess I never realized when we watched him when we were younger that, one, her character didn't know what he did for a living. Thought what he said, he told her he was a video game developer, and that's what she didn't know he was a killer, and she's dumb as a box of fucking rocks. And I don't remember any of that from watching it back in the day. So I'm watching this, and she just keeps doing things. And yes, like it's funny in the sense of like anybody who's been in a relationship knows how that can go sometimes, where she's just like, oh, one more thing, and he's just like, he's like, we really gotta go. He's just, you know, fucking, and then tells her the truth, and she's just like, you're full of shit, until, you know, obviously people start shooting at him. But yeah, that second movie, because they do the public sex scene the first time, and she wasn't as into it, but then like once she realized, oh, you're telling the truth, blah, 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 that second movie, it's like her idea. She's like, oh, you need friction.
I got some friction.
Yeah. But I read this like little trivia fact that was like, I think it was Amy Smart's body double was the one that was talking about this, where like shooting that scene, they really are just like pretending to have sex in front of like a crowd full of people, and all those people were really there, and she's just like, they're doing what race fans do best. They just were enjoying the show. Everybody was really having a good time. She's like, and as far as she was actually because she didn't get to do it for the second one. She was talking about the first movie because she was pregnant for the second movie, because she said she would have done it. She's like, I would.
Of course, I would pretend I had sex with Jason Statham.
Pretty much, she was like, of all the people to take my clothes off for, I get to do it for Jason Statham. Like, come on. So she wasn't.
Had a private shooting just for themselves.
Right.
No pretending here.
Hey, I'm gonna need you back in my trailer for rehearsal later, Jason. But. Yeah, dude, they've always been wild movies, but I forgot just how cartoonish it gets at times. Because there are just some things I'm just like, oh my God, I'm goofy. They are funny though. And the thing is, I feel like a lot of people don't. It's one of those movies I could see how you wouldn't know it was supposed to be funny. You know, like I can see how you go in thinking you're going to get some like serious like action movie.
Right.
But it's not. It's most definitely like an action comedy.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. And especially how fucking ridiculous the second one gets. I forgot all about that too. With the fucking head and the tank and all that shit. Cheerios. Fucking so stupid, dude. It's ridiculous.
It's wild.
But yeah, no, those are still a lot of fun. We watched those. I don't think we watched them a lot when we were kids, but I do remember like that and like Kill Bill and like there was definitely like a set of movies that we watched like during a period of time in our lives, like junior high and high school, that we were pretty fond of. And I feel like Crank was one of those series.
It was fun. It was a fun series.
It was.
I will say on the aspect of not realizing a movie was supposed to be funny, I remember the first time I watched Drag Me to Hell, not realizing that it was supposed to be a comedy. And so I went into it with the mindset that it was like supposed to be serious. And when the movie was over, I hated it. And then we were talking about it, like, well, it's supposed to be a comedy. I'm like, oh.
Well, I love it.
That changes everything. Like, I definitely give it a lot more of an appreciation for it. But yeah, sometimes it is important to know kind of what you're going into, like with watching something. Like if someone were to turn on Crank thinking it's just like a Jason Statham action movie, and then that's what they get, they're like, what the fuck is going on?
This is fucking silly.
This isn't Transported. I don't know what's going on right now.
I mean, hell, if you're that upset, you got a dime a dozen Jason Statham as serious action movies to choose from.
The Mechanic, Homefront. I've seen my fair share of Jason Statham movies. One I want to watch still is Man of Wrath. Wrath of Man.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's a good one. Yeah, it's a good one.
And The Beekeeper.
See, The Beekeeper, that honestly was because that came out earlier this year.
Yeah.
And I mean, will it hit my top 10 of 2024? Probably not, but I did have a great fucking time with that movie because I saw it in theaters and it was just a blast. It was just so fun. Very reminiscent of the fun I have in Crank, but not quite as wild. Right. But there's definitely like just wild moments. I really enjoyed the story in The Beekeeper as well.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, you should definitely check that one out at some point. I have watched a lot of Jason Statham. You know, now that you mention that, it's like it's not one I think about like whenever we kind of like do little deep dives and go down rabbit holes. But it's just like, fuck, yeah.
I have not seen all the Transporters.
I don't know if I have or not.
I think I saw the first two.
But those are movies that, like, if I have seen them, I don't know if I'd count them because I couldn't tell you much about it. I know that I've seen at least one or two of them.
I've seen it. I know for a fact I've seen the first one. Feel like I've seen bits and pieces of the second one at least. But that's one that would be cool to go back and just knock out real quick.
For sure. Yeah, quick little trilogy. Speaking of quick little trilogies that I don't have much to say about, watched Venom 3 this morning. And I'll just say what I told you earlier, which was they managed to consistently keep it as mediocre for 3 whole movies. Like they just never made it move that meter at all. They were just like, this is what it is, and this is what it will continue to be, and we will not be any better or worse than this. And so it's what a plateau of a trilogy.
Yeah, because I really enjoyed the first one, watched the second one, just kind of meh. And now, so I know what to expect going into the third one, which is kind of what I expected when I watched the trailer. Even with the whole joke where they're like doing the I am Venom, but Venom keeps saying it at the wrong time. I'm like, so this is what we're doing.
We're doing this again. Okay.
Yes, so,
which, I mean, honestly, that's been the biggest thing for those movies is like the banter between Eddie and Venom. Like that's like what makes these movies, I feel like.
Yeah.
Their relationship and like everything around it is
just
stupid. I mean, we've done.
I think that's why I enjoyed the first one as much, because it was really just, the whole movie was pretty much just based on their like relationship and building on it and stuff like that, versus them just getting to wild situations with other symbiotes after the fact.
Well, and that's the other thing is like we're 3 for 3, where it's just like symbiotes just about every time. Like
who else is he gonna fight?
Huh?
Who else is Venom gonna fight?
Oh, geez, I don't know.
Anyone?
Geez, I don't know. He doesn't have like a arch nemesis or anything that they just totally fucked by not having him in this movie. But whatever. They've already gone too far down the lethal protector route now.
Yeah, it'd feel weird for him to fight Spider-Man.
It would. It'd be one of those like Avengers situations where it's like they fight, but then they're like, oh, we're on the same side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
It is what it is. It was the last dance, even though I think we can all assume that Venom and probably Tom Hardy will be back at some point when all the multiverse shenanigans all come to a head. But
we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. I assumed it was their last dance. One thing I will say, I hate when movies, it's like the final chapter or, whatever, and then continue to make more after that. It's the same thing like with the Friday the 13th, the final Friday and stuff like that.
Very popular in the horror genre.
Like I can get because even Resident Evil did that.
Yeah.
But then I guess in that aspect, like it was the one director and act. It was that one full storyline, and then it ended, and then
they rebooted.
Someone else continued to make more, so I can forgive that one a little bit. But even like with like Saw and stuff, I know there's like
the final chapter, and then made like at least 3 or 4 more.
Yeah, So it's just it's almost like a good rule of thumb. Don't ever put the final anything.
Right. Yeah. Don't
unless you're the final destination, then you're not allowed. But that's different.
But even then. They changed that title for the 4th one. They were like, The Final Destination was the name of the 4th movie. And then they made Final Destination 5. And they were like, well.
No, fuck it.
Maybe not The Final Destination. And there's another one on the way. So.
Yeah, well, I guess in the aspect of the 5th one, it kind of took place before the 4th one.
Was that the 5th one or was that the 4th one?
I thought the 5th one was the one where it was all connected to the story.
See,
now, it could be the 4th one. Now, see, if it was the 4th one, then they should have just ended it there.
That's what I'm saying.
But, I mean, fan of the Final Destination movies anyways.
Right. Well, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm not going to go see 6.
Right. Well, I'm trying to think of what crazy situation they're going to come up with this time.
I am excited for the next one. I know.
It's been a long time. They've let me rest.
Yes.
Let me recoup.
I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I'm definitely Scream 6 is the first time I really started to feel franchise fatigue.
Oh, that's what she said.
And I kind of felt that way with Halloween there at the end too, where it's like, listen, make all the fucking sequels in the world. I don't care, but just give me time, bro. Like, give me time to miss you before you come back. Shit.
Sometimes I think a series needs a good 10, 15 years.
Right.
Just let it just settle.
Yeah. I mean, hell, I think one that does pretty decent is Mission Impossible. I feel like they space out their sequels pretty well. I mean, fuck, there's 6 or 7 of them now, but I mean, they started back in the 90s, and they've just kind of steadily,
That's a franchise I need to go down. I've only seen the first 2.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, the 4th one is my favorite.
So I haven't seen the rest of them.
The 3rd's also really good.
I'm not. I don't hate on Tom Cruise like some people do, but
there was a great line in Venom 3 about that, where they're holding on to the side of the plane, and Venom's having the time of his life, man. He's just bitching, and he's just it's so unpleasantly cold, and this, that, the other, and he's just how does Tom Cruise do this? And Venom is he doesn't bitch about it or whatever. He's not a whiny bitch or something like that. I was that's funny.
That is funny. But it is crazy that he does do all his own stunts.
It is. Yeah, so I guess I'll just fucking skip Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't really have anything new to add to that conversation necessarily. It was good.
Still good.
It was good. Still good. No, I guess the two big ones I was wanting to talk about. Which would you like to do first? You want to talk once, or you want to talk Hundreds of Beavers?
Ooh, it don't matter to me.
Let's do Beavers,
Let's
and
do Beavers.
We'll close out with
once.
So, Hundreds of Beavers.
Hundreds of them.
Hundreds of
Literal hundreds. I think
hundreds. And I believe the tagline of the movie was possibly thousands.
That's funny. Yeah, because I remember even at one point he had like up to like 203 beaver skins.
He racked them up. He did. I heard about this movie much earlier in the year, and it had been doing well in festivals. Weirdly enough, this movie kept coming up in like horror stuff, and like,
that's interesting.
And that's why I was like, I don't understand why this is being labeled a horror movie necessarily. Like, I guess there were a few moments where I could maybe see that, but to call the whole movie a horror movie would just be a lie.
No, it should just be called a comedy.
It's just a comedy, for sure.
If that's what you want to call it.
Very slapstick, very niche. It is very niche, I will say that much. I will say, I know you weren't as crazy about it as I was, but I might go as far to say that it's going to make my top 10 movies of the year.
Oh, damn. Yeah. I think it was like the last episode, like, you're like, I'm really learning a lot about you. And like, sometimes, like, you tell me, like, some of these top 10 movies, I'm like, really? Like, that is interesting.
It really worked for me. I don't know. I will say this. I absolutely agree with you on, like, it did lose me at times. I will say that. Like, yeah. And I felt it. And I feel like that doesn't happen often when I'm watching movies, especially a movie that I'm so into. But to feel that into a movie and then just feel yourself fall out of it doesn't happen a lot. But it did happen with Hundreds of Beavers, because it's just like such a specific vibe. The movie's like an hour and 40-something minutes long. Yeah. And like I said, it could have been like 15 minutes shorter for sure. Just slapstick humor, very much like watching a live action Looney Tunes cartoon is pretty much is kind of what it felt like. But I just thought like the work that went into it was great. It just looked like a fun time. Like the people who made it, I bet that was a lot of fun to do. Yeah. And I don't know, man. I feel like the older I get, like my sense of humor, like especially when it comes to like my entertainment, I love a simple joke. I love just like a simple joke. You don't have to be too complex about it. It could be as goofy as getting a bear trap stuck on your arm and screaming for 5 minutes, but or whatever, and just going from scene to scene. Or you know the. I feel like okay, you made that complaint about the bird thing. Where every time he whistles, the bird comes and pecks his head, and then he dropped the shit on the fire. I feel like you make that kind of complaint about so many movies, and I don't know how to like word it specifically, but there's a very specific thing that people do where it's like you can abide by a joke until it does something that feels impractical to you, where it's like it's impractical that he keeps putting the fire out, even though that's part of the joke. You're like, that's dumb. He shouldn't be putting the fire out. Similar to Dumb and Dumber. No, I know, but there's that. I think into the fire. Was it the first or second Dumb and Dumber movie where they did something? They like threw something out and it pissed you off. You were so like upset by this.
It was I think it was the end of.
You're like, I guess it doesn't work or some shit like that. I guess
it was the end of the second one, because it was like whenever they got the milkshakes, and it was like, I ordered chocolate, I ordered vanilla, and then they
just threw it out, and you're like upset. You're like, how fucking stupid.
It's the same thing when they found the Wayne Laurie too. It's like, oh, it's all the right numbers, but the wrong order.
I feel like it's jokes like that just get to you.
It bugs me.
There's just something about wastefulness that really fucking eats away at you for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I feel like my problem too. Like, and like the thing with like Hundreds of Beavers, it was jokes like that the whole time. Every joke was just too fucking.
That's gonna make or break the movie. Yeah, I mean, if you are into this kind of humor, you're going to love this movie. If you don't like this kind of humor, you're not going to like this movie. And then there, I think there's room for middle ground there.
There is. I mean, there is like a sweet spot. Like, because don't get me wrong, like I don't mind a good running joke, but I always have the problem when it's like back to back to back to back. Like, you can do the same joke 5 times.
Right.
Spaced out, but don't do it like 5 times, like all in one consecutive joke.
Which is also funny because I texted you very early on in the movie when I texted you and I was like, I need you to watch this and tell me if it's as funny as I think it is. But then as the movie kept going and moments like that happened where it was just like the repetitive joke that just like kept going, I'm like, oh, maybe he's not going to find this as funny as I do because I know you're not as fond of that. But yeah, there were moments of like just kind of lulls where it's just like it was going really well, and then like just joke after joke after joke, and I mean I laughed hard at this movie. I mean
I was definitely laughing for like the first, I'd say like this first solid 15 minutes. I wish it would have just been like a short film.
I feel
like
I can see where it could like get old.
Like it
fast.
just felt like it just kept on dragging on. One joke that I did find funny, even like after the fact, was like, so he's like talking to the chick that he's like trying to woo or whatever, and she starts like doing a stripper dance like right outside the bar. He's like, no, stop it. And it's just like that was funny, but. So, I mean, there were certain, like, I mean, there were things that, like, I did find funny about it, but I think part of it, like, there being no dialogue, essentially, besides dude screaming, also was something that kind of took. Not that I've never watched a silent film before.
Right. Yeah, because that is what this is. It is a silent film.
You know. So then, like, God, I just didn't have enough, like, it just wasn't enough to, like, keep my attention. I felt like,
which I get that. Like I said, there are 2 distinct moments in the movie that I felt that lull. Like, two different times in the movie, I was like, oh, this is just kind of dragging on a little bit. And like I said, I don't feel that often, but when I felt it in this, I felt it for sure. But fuck me, I just thought it was so funny. I was just, like I said, I'm a simple guy, so I just really got a kick out of some of the gags in this and the physical comedy and all that jazz. A lot of the time, it was like I loved that like every animal in the movie was like a person in a mascot suit. And just like some of the bits with them, there's something in particular. Like when he's trying to hit the one animal who's like, I think it was like the rabbit or something. He's trying to hit it, and he's just standing. He just watches the thing go by, and he just keeps missing him. He's just like, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Oh, and then his little Indian pal that he's always like smoking up with. I got a kick out of those moments as well, especially when he tried to get on his horse to ride away, but the horse is also 2 people in a fucking costume. So he jumps on it, and the whole horse just falls apart. And then I think the horse dies later in the movie. He's like holding the horse, but you just see the guy's face in the costume. He's just like staring blankly. It's so silly. I don't know. Like I said, I mean, it's just a live action Looney Tunes cartoon, very Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton-esque. So if that's your kind of thing, I think you'll enjoy it. But at the same time, it is a little overlong. I will admit, it's got its flaws. It's not going to be for everybody. But if you think it sounds up your alley, I recommend it. Yeah, that was up yours. It sure was. Possibly top 10. Possibly top 10, to the surprise of Philip. Not Beekeeper, but not Beekeeper. Hundreds of Beavers. Yeah. Listen, Beekeeper made me laugh, but not like this. Oh, that's funny though. I don't know. I think another factor is just like the uniqueness of Hundreds of Beavers, as opposed to the Beekeeper, which I've seen plenty of movies like the Beekeeper. You know what I mean? Like, even if they change some things, like the story or this, that, the other. I mean, I've seen the Beekeeper, right? But Hundreds of Beavers was definitely like a new experience. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, one of my faves of the year. Well. So that's one for 2 of us. That's you said Tuesday was one of your favorites of the year. Yeah. Hundreds of Beavers is one of mine. So we are not the same. Are we? No. But who knows? I might check out Tuesday, and next week I'll be telling you that you hated it. That I hated it. Yeah. Or maybe it's going to make my top 10. I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll have to find out. Just have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. all right, let's close this sucker out with fantastic movie.
Yeah, that we can both
agree is a fantastic movie. Once. 2007 Academy Award winner that we've both only ever seen once.
Yes.
We both only, because you said that, I'm like, same. Like, I also only ever watched it the one time when we were kids, but it stuck with me for sure. And I know we were both big fans of the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck. How could you not be?
Yeah. You just don't like music.
Yeah, right.
Like that one soundtrack.
Do you not have a soul? Like, it's such a beautiful movie, man. And I'm glad, I'm excited for you to rewatch it.
I am too.
Because
it's like in my bedroom, you hit it.
I did. I hit it. So when you find it, you let me know and let me know when you watch it.
I'll have to pop that in probably maybe after you leave.
You're not even going to finish this podcast. You're going to leave right now.
All right, and that's...
You're like, oh, that's right.
I'll let Chase... I haven't seen it twice, so I'll let Chase just finish it out.
I mean, I'm excited for you to watch it, you know, for the same reason, like, you know, yeah, it was good when we were kids, but there's like a lot of movies like that. I feel I was telling Belle about this, where it's like, we watched a lot of movies when we were that age.
Yeah.
That was like our prime time. We'd always walk up to the video store and rent shit. And I feel like we, unlike other people our age, like we got deep into movies. Like we would watch some heavier stuff that we enjoyed at the time. And I just feel like our brains weren't able to comprehend some of it, you know? Like it just was what it was. We were just too young. But to go back and watch once now I can appreciate it
as an adult
on a whole new level. And I appreciate it as an adult. I appreciate it as a filmmaker, because watching that movie, the way it's shot, it's like you're watching a home video almost.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like so cheap. I was shocked to find out their budget was as high as it was. I was like, the fuck did you pay for? Because it was like $150,000 US, I think, was their budget. And if I'm not mistaken, about half of that
was studio time.
Well, it was the final shot of the movie is a crane shot that like sweeps over the street and stuff. And I guess a big chunk of the budget went to that crane shot.
What the fuck do we do with this other $75,000?
Yeah, because I was reading that they were like filming at friends' houses and shit like that, like what we do, you know, like just to make it happen. Now, here's where South Park comes back into play. I was surprised to find this out in the little trivia on IMDb. It didn't get into details, but all it said was that the director and like, I think Glenn Hansard that plays the guy in it, like, I guess they were all big South Park fans, and it claimed that they were having South Park withdrawal while making the movie. So they named one of the characters like in the band Timmy.
That's funny.
Yeah. So just a little
Timmy,
connection.
The Lords of the Underworld.
Something, a little connection I did not expect to happen, which I feel like I find that sometimes. But, you know, with our fandom of South Park and Godzilla, they both be popping up in weird places. There was a Godzilla reference in, I don't remember if it was the first Crank or the second one.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
But it's at the end, they like become kaiju and just start fighting.
Yeah.
So
I think that was at the end of the first.
I was like, that'd make for a great trivia question someday. It'd be like, in what movie was Jason Statham a kaiju? And people are going to be like, what did he do, a voice or something? No, I mean, Jason Statham was the kaiju.
Which is funny. That's funny.
But yeah, a little South Park fun fact for you.
That is. I always do enjoy. When I find out like other people who like South Park is also their favorite show, because it's like I feel like I know you so much more on like on a deeper level just with that, because even like Sean Evans, host of Hot Ones, he said it was like one of his favorite shows of all time. It's like. Bet you're already from the Champaign area and all that, so it's just
my man.
I wish I would have came and saw him whenever he was at that game.
Right, we got to talk to him and be like, yo, we're trying to get on Hot Ones. Keep a spot for us.
He's like, I don't even know who you guys are.
Not yet.
You remember Phil and Chase.
You remember this. But yeah, man, the music in it, is just beautiful. Falling Slowly, obviously, Oscar winner that year.
Yes.
As it should be. I mean, it was
a great song.
Another
just
little,
a great song.
Another little fun fact I read was that when it was like the first time they played Falling Slowly, or they did that scene in the movie, Glenn Hansard jokingly said when they were done, they were like, and the Oscar for Best Song goes to, and then it turned out to be very prophetic because later they most certainly won the Oscar for that movie.
Yeah, I remember what really put that movie on the radar for me in the first place is I think my parents were watching like a talk show, like a late night talk show or whatever, and they got on there and like did the song, and I remember like my whole family was just like, what the fuck is this song? Like, what? And so then they're like, oh, from the movie Once, and like we went and watched it like very shortly after that, and it's Once is a very near and dear thing to like our family's hearts. Like you talk about Once, and like, oh, you're gonna spark a conversation.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the only reason I ever saw Once. I mean, I'm sure I would have seen it at some point, but I saw it because of you.
Yeah,
and your family's love of Once. You let me borrow it, and I watched it, and I was like, wow, yeah, that's pretty good.
I like that.
It is interesting, though, like to watch it now as an adult and be like, it's like a love story, but it's not
like sad.
You know, story. It's like, it's almost not a love story.
Not
you know
really,
what I mean? Because it's like they're both, he's still in love with his ex-girlfriend, and it seems like maybe I don't think she really has feelings for her husband or ex-husband or whatever he was, who's off like back in her homeland.
Right.
But there were two things that I learned about this movie that just like elevated it that much more. One, I did wonder when I sat down to watch the movie, I was like, I wonder why they call it Once. You know, like I wonder where that title came from. And I read what the director said about the title, and I was like, oh, that just like it hit me deep. And I was just like, this made that movie that much better for me, where he was talking about, growing up and shit like that. He's met so many talented people over the years, and I feel like we can really relate to this, where it's like all of these talented people who want to be musicians and filmmakers and artists, and they always say the same thing of, once I get everything straightened out, then I'll be able to do
Once
what
I can do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Then.
And that's where the title comes from. And because that's very much like the journey that the main guy goes on, of like, he is kind of like one of those people. And so you do kind of see him make that next step by the end of the movie. But I was like, man, that's heavy in a way, because it's so true. It's so true. I've known so many people like that, and I feel like that's something I do find myself bitching about in a way that's like, because I believe in these people so much, these talented people that I meet, that I do want them to get past their once, Right. I want them to be the talented people that they are, and not think like, oh, well, once I, do this. And I've seen a lot of people just
not
fizzle out.
Yeah.
They're just like, let the dream go because of that, because they're always putting it on the back burner.
Well, I have to do this to live, and I can't afford to make the sacrifices that it would require, yada, yada, yada. I have a family now, all sorts of different excuses that people will make as to why they can't or don't continue their goals in life, essentially.
And it's such a charming movie too. Like, I just like, the whole time I was watching it, I just couldn't help but have a smile on my face. I was either smiling or crying, because I'm a bit like, nothing will get the tears flowing for me in a movie quite like music. I mean, music will make me cry like instantaneously sometimes.
Right.
And this movie just has such beautiful music. Like, I mean, growing up, there was only ever one song I would skip, but that's just because, like, as a kid, I didn't appreciate that song as much. It was The Hill, where it's just her playing the piano, and like, it's like a sadder, more somber, slow song. And so I'd always skip that as a kid, preferring more upbeat stuff, I guess. But now I'm like, no, every single song on the soundtrack is a banger.
It has its place for a reason.
And there's this other, plus they're just so fucking cute, bro. Like that's what like has the smile on my face the whole time is like the first time they meet each other and how she's like just, I wouldn't say abrasive, but like she's very like bold about like introducing herself to him and all that. And just like how their relationship develops as it goes, because it's like I said, it's like a love story, but not, because they are in love with each other, but like it never blossoms into a relationship.
Yeah.
And I almost like this idea of like, because me personally in life, I do believe that like, you know, sometimes love can be more than romantic love. Like if you just keep watering that seed of love past romance, you'll find something much deeper. And I feel like this movie is a great depiction of that. Just the way it ends, where he does go to London to get his old girl back, which he shouldn't, because she's a cheating whore. But and then he buys the other chick the piano before he goes. And I'm just like, what a sweet fucking ending! It's
what
beautiful.
A nice guy.
And that opening shot of the movie, I love it. Like as he's playing the song, and it starts with a wide shot, and it just keeps pushing in on him on the song as it builds until you got like a close up, and then as the song starts to wind down, it pulls out just enough to reveal that she's standing there listening to him, and then they meet for the first time. And like, I just got chills right now, just thinking about the shot. It's just such a wonderfully made movie. Like for a low budget movie, like I love the relationships in it. Like whether it's his relationship with his father, like near the end, his father's a very quiet man, which kind of leads you to assume that maybe he's kind of a little gruff and maybe a little your music, blah, blah, blah. But he's not. He's just quiet, you know. And so near the end, after they've recorded all the music, and he plays it for his dad, and he stops, and they're just like he's just waiting to hear what his dad has to say. And then he starts talking before his dad because he's like, oh, he didn't like it. And then his dad just interrupts him and is like, it's fucking brilliant. Like, and then makes the comment about, I'm going to cry. And then he's like, go do whatever. And he's like, but first play it again. And I'm just like, oh, God damn it. Why is this movie just so beautiful? Like, it's just a beautiful, beautiful movie. Like, I don't even really think it's a sad movie, you know? Like,
no.
Watching it, I mean, I feel like to some people, the sad part is that they don't get together.
Yeah, which is what I found sad when I watched it, but I was also a kid. You know? At that time, you know, a lot of the movies, you know, that we do watch is like there are always that.
They either get together or it's sad.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, I was like, damn. Because, you know, like you said, super cute together. The whole, like, I was rooting for him, and then it just didn't. I was like,
well, that was the other thing I learned about this movie, that there's a specific scene in the movie where they like go for a walk, and he starts asking her questions about like her husband and stuff, and he's like, how do you say, do you still love him, or do you love him in Czech? And she tells him, and then he says it back to her. And she just smiles, and she says something back to him, but it's not subtitled or anything. So you don't, unless you happen to speak the language, you have no fucking idea what she just said. Well, I read what she said.
Google Translate.
Well, good thing IMDb trivia was coming through for me, because somebody was like, this is what she said. And I'm just like, well, great, I'm going to cry all over again. Because she just gives him that sweet smile. Also, Marketa Irglova is just like, gorgeous. She's just like a beautiful, she's just so pretty. She's just like radiant. She's like an angel. And she gives him that smile, and she says what she says, and what she says is, no, I love you. And I'm just like, motherfucker. I was just like, God damn it. This movie just, it's just like, it's so beautiful, man. It's just such a great movie. And
too bad he didn't understand that, or else he probably would have pushed harder.
Yeah. Well, because she smiles and she says that, and he's like, "What did you say?" And she just smiles and walks away, and she changes the subject, and like, God damn it!
So right now I am happy.
Right now we're both over here wiping our eyes.
Like, put on as soon as you leave.
It's so good. And like I said, I've been listening to the soundtrack all week. Probably will continue to do so.
Fun fact, this is going to be the first time I've put a disc into my PlayStation.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So, that'll be fun. But once gets to be the cherry breaker.
Watch it doesn't work.
Don't say that. Why would you even speak that into existence?
But I should probably check before I leave, I guess.
Well, I mean, if it just worked for you, I don't see why my PlayStation.
Well, that was my PS4, so I don't know.
But that is I feel like the PlayStation 4 even had a problem with that, where it's like if a DVD was too old, it wouldn't play for whatever.
So it is a possibility.
I will check it. I will put it in before you leave, just in case. Now you got me worried.
Got me nervous. Yeah, man.
Got me shaking my boots.
I don't know what more to say. I just keep saying it's beautiful.
Because there's nothing more to say about it.
Falling Slowly is a classic. And honestly, arguably not even the best song in that movie. Might be the most popular song, but I feel like some songs, like the one you're always singing, Lies, I think that's a great song.
Which I wasn't a fan of the first time I heard it.
Oh, that's funny. Sing as you sing it all the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's grown on me.
Well, yeah.
So.
I always like the song Leave as well. Where he's just like telling the bitch to leave, basically.
Now get the fuck out.
I told you last time when we talked about this last week that I really like the song Broken Hearted Hoover Fixer Sucker Guy. And apparently that song was never meant to be in the movie.
Oh.
Glenn Hansard just improvised it on the bus. And it was just meant to be a joke, but the director liked it so much they just kept it in. So
he's like, all right, you want to do that take again? He's like,
do what again?
That was it.
Do what again? That was just a little jokey joke for me. But yeah, I mean, honestly, every song. There's one song on the soundtrack that's not either of those two. It's like an Irish band, because there's that scene where they have like the little party or whatever, and all the Irish folks do what they do best, and they start singing a tune together. But it's a song called Gold, and even that song is fucking beautiful. I'm not connected too tightly to my Irish roots, but that one got me. I don't know. I was like, damn.
Should be.
I should be.
Get more in touch.
I should be.
Learn about that famine.
Right? I want to speak to where nobody can understand me.
Is that what it is?
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was going to make another joke, but we don't want to go there.
Oof. Yeah, well, that's all I got.
That's it?
Yeah.
Is this episode?
I think so. I think it is. And look at that. We kept it under an hour and 30.
Sweet. That's a sweet spot for us.
It really is. I think like the hour 20, hour to 30 is usually when we really.
Yeah, it's around the time I have to go pee too. I've had to pee for like the past 10 minutes.
Oh, damn.
I know.
Oh,
so this is Philip signing off, and I'll let Chase
Philip signing off.
Close her out.
And I'll close it out until next time. We still don't have a good closer. But yeah, this is Phil and Chase Watch Everything. We'll catch y'all next week. Peace.